Uringa. Okay, Namo Om Vishnu Vadaya Krishna Bistaya Bhutale Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachaline Nivasisha Sunyavadi Pashtatata Satadine Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Sari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Okay, it seems like somebody wrote is having trouble coming in. Some are coming in and going out and coming and going out. Must be some technical issues. But let's start. I'm sure they try again to come in. I'll just keep my eyes on the I can see they're trying to come in and I can let devotees in. All right, so 7th chapter. Let's just go 5 verses back, a few verses back to get some idea of the context that we were picking up on today. Okay, let's just go back we won't go through the whole chapter. It'll take most of the hour that we have. That's 7:17. Let's go to 7:15. Perhaps a little bit further. Remember, we spoke about Krishna speaks about the 4 types of persons who turn to him. And he speaks about the 4 types of persons who in difficulty and don't turn to him when they're quite extensive purple. See, I'm scrolling around on the screen, you can see. So then, and then here comes the Daimato again. Okay, 7:17. Okay, of those, the one who, let's just get rid of this, moving things around on my screen. Of these, the one who is in full knowledge and is always engaged in pure devotional service is the best. For I am very dear to him and he is dear to me. So of those 4, Chaturvada Bhajanti Mam, Jana Sukritina Arjuna, Atikna Shi Ajati, Gani Cha Paradosapa. So the Gani, but specifically this is a devotee who's in knowledge of Krishna and therefore engages in pure devotional service. So it's not the impersonalist Gani, it's a devotee who's in knowledge of him. So Krishna considers him to be the best. And I remember a highlight we made is that the other 3 categories, those who are searching for wealth, those who are in distress, and those who are inquisitive, they all eventually come to Divya Gyan. They all eventually come to knowledge as well. And then of all these devotees are undoubtedly magnanimous souls. So everyone's magnanimous who turns to Krishna, even if it's not with a pure intention. Just turning to Krishna makes one magnanimous. Yeah. Okay, and then 19, a well-known verse, often quoted and known by devotees. After many births and deaths, the Gani, someone who's actually in knowledge, the symptom of real knowledge is that one will surrender to Krishna, Pajyate. And that's not so common. Such a great soul is very rare. Then we come to today's verse. So the leading into this verse is, just was looking at that. So what about those who surrender, but they don't surrender to Krishna? They surrender their time, intelligence, and all passion, their worship to the devas. What about those? So Krishna's going to describe those now. Hare Krishna. So that was a little context of where we are. And so let's welcome over Chandravali. Let's have someone to read text 20. Volunteer, Mother Gayatri. Yeah.
Prabhu, I'm very sorry I'm running, but I'll be home in 5 minutes. I can read the next one.
Okay, no problem. Someone else like to read? I'm not
Nai,
sure.
Prabhu?
Yes, go ahead.
720.
720, yeah.
Kamestastar rata janaha prapadyante na devata tam tam niyamam astaya prakataya nitya niyata savaya. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and follow the particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Prabhupada, Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Ki Jai.
Those who are freed from all material contempt. Prabhu,
Haribol.
you said something?
I said
Okay.
Jai.
Oh, thank you.
Jai Shri Prabhupada ki.
Jai Shri Prabhupada. Okay. Those who are freed from all material contamination surrender unto the Supreme Lord and engage in his devotion service. As material contamination is completely washed off, they are by nature non-devotees, but even those who have material desires and who resort to the Supreme Lord are not so much attracted by external nature because of approaching the right goal. They soon become free from all material lust. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, it is recommended that whether one is a pure devotee and is from all material desires, or is full of material desires, or desires liberation from material contamination, he should in all cases surrender to Vasudeva and worship him, as stated in the Bhagavatam 2.3.10. Akama sarva kama va moksha kama udadihi tivrena bhakti yogena jata purusam param. Less intelligent people who have lost their spiritual sense take shelter of demigods for immediate fulfillment of material desires. Generally, such people do not go to the Supreme Personality of Godhead because they are in the lower modes of nature, ignorance and passion, and therefore worship various demigods. Following the rules and regulations of worship, they are satisfied. The worshippers of demigods are motivated by small desires and do not know how to reach the supreme goal. But a devotee of the Supreme Lord is not misguided, because in Vedic literature there are recommendations of worshipping different gods for different purposes. Example, a deceased man is recommended to worship the sun. Those who are not devotees of the Lord think that for certain purposes, demigods are better than the Supreme Lord. But a pure devotee knows that the Supreme Lord Krishna is the master of all. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Adilila 5.142, it is said, Ekale Ishvara Krishna Arasabha Bhaktya. Only the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, is master and all others are servants. Therefore, a pure devotee never goes to demigods for satisfaction of his material needs. He depends on the Supreme Lord, and the pure devotee is satisfied with whatever he gives.
Okay. All right, so just take note of that last sentence. And the pure devotee is satisfied with whatever he gives. Yep. And we'll come to that. But any immediate questions, confusions, or curiosities about this? Let's go back a little bit.
Yes, Prabhu. It says ignorance is passion, we are in the lower mode.
Sorry, say
but,
that again. It's
in this purport,
yeah.
says that the people who are not surrendering, like going to the Lord, others are ignorance. But it doesn't mean that I'm talking about myself. I don't. I'm also in mode of ignorance, passion. At least we're trying to come out. I think that is what. So we can't look down on them, thinking, oh, they are ignorant, they are passion. That not we are. Prabhu.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's generally devotee will always reflect like you are doing, not want to consider ourselves to be at the level of a Shuddha Sattva. And practically speaking, we are feeling the influence of the different modes of nature upon us in trying to do devotional service. But still, the underlying worship which you have taken up, someone needs to be muted. That's it. Thank you. Yeah. Still, but in comparison to the worshippers of demigods, you are situated in, at least in a mode of goodness, because you've approached Krishna. Yeah. So subjectively speaking, we could say, yes, objectively speaking, should I say, that devotees are situated better than those. Yeah. So that's why Prabhupada quotes this verse here, which is from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Some of you might know of it. This comes in a section of the Bhagavatam where there's a long list of demigods given and a different benefit that one can get. I think it's in the second canto. But for those who have broader intelligence, then they will go to Krishna. Now, Krishna may not immediately fulfill the material desires. If he does, and he does fulfill the material desires of a devotee, he will do it in such a way that they won't desire the same thing. He will give them, there's one verse that describes, he will give them the nectar of the taste of pure devotion, or the taste of the nectar of Krishna's lotus feet. So a classic example is Dhruva Maharaj. Yeah. So Mother Shubhakrina, you have your hand for reading, or is that a question?
I have a comment.
Yeah, please.
For me, it's very interesting how, for example, even the society of Gopas in Vrindavan, Nanda Maharaj, before Krishna instructed him, they want to worship Indra. Also, how Srimati Radharani, she was worshipping sun god. And Gopis, they're worshipping Katyayani, to get Krishna as their husband. So it's indirect worship also, in a way. That was my small comment.
Yeah, it's a good point. That point's often brought up. That's often brought up as a question. How come the gopis worship Katyayani? And yeah, well, they're worshipping for obtaining Krishna. But there's an interesting point that Shivaram Swami Maharaj brings up in this regard, is that that's the culture, or that's the Rajbasis. We are not supposed to imitate them in every sense of the term. Everything that they did, we don't automatically do. That's the Rajrasis. And we know they worship in order to protect Krishna, in order to obtain Krishna as a husband. But we follow the instructions of the residents of Raj in their sadhak forms, like the 6 Goswamis, yeah? For instance, Rupa Goswami. So we are followers of Rupa Goswami. So Rupa Goswami is advising us to engage in one-pointed worship of Krishna, not to worship Katyayani, not to worship the sun god. You understand? It's an interesting point. So we follow the residents of Vrindavan, but in their sadhaka forms, and they generally advise to worship Krishna directly, because this worship of the sun god, it plays a whole pastime and leela, because Radharani goes to worship the sun god, and then Krishna, he impersonates the sun god. And don't forget, the residents of Raj, then they're covered by a yoga maya, so they're not aware of Krishna, or even if Krishna does manifest godlike qualities, they don't take it seriously. So all these different, the culture of Raj, there you will see, they will, like, as you pointed out. I don't know if I'm making that more complicated than what it is, but thank you for that comment. But I just thought I'd just add on that. That is a common question devotees sometimes bring up. But Prabhupada didn't instruct us to worship Katyayani. He didn't encourage us to worship the sun god, nor did Bhaktisiddhanta, nor do the Goswamis. That's the prerogative of the Rajrasis to all to enhance the Leela of Krishna, who is just the hero of Raj. Yeah. Oh, sorry, I made it a bit long-winded, but Hare Krishna.
That's good though, because when Radharani worships sun god, it's also excuses for her to see Krishna. So many pastimes happening in that way. And how? Sorry.
Yeah.
Lord, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to all Shiva temples, so we go, pay obeisances, pray that we meditate on person he's meditating on. So you're respecting everybody,
Yeah, that's also there as well. I was just reading through that part of the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya's South Indian tour. And it seems like he goes to, in every place he goes to a Shiva temple. Mm-hmm. Yeah, showing respect. So we show respect to demigods, but we don't take complete shelter of them. We take complete shelter of Krishna as our maintainer, but we have great respect for demigods. Yeah. You know what? Hare Krishna. Anything else from here?
Yeah, I was just wondering, because the Katyayani Vrat, I noticed that it's on the ISKCON calendar. So how do we, are we celebrating that in some way, or are we just acknowledging it, or are we supposed to?
There are some devotees who do a semblance of the Katyayani Vrat.
It's very difficult. I can't imagine doing that.
You have to bathe in the river in the early morning, and you have to eat non-spice food and etc. Generally, devotees, you find some devotees will follow that for a particular sentiment, not a bad sentiment, but as I mentioned, we are not supposed to imitate every aspect of the Rajrashi's culture. For instance, one Goswami or one sadhu in the time of the 6 Goswamis, and he proposed that because the Rajrashis don't follow Ekadashi, then we should not follow Ekadashi. Yeah. And there's something else that the Rajrashis, because they don't fast, then we should not fast as well. So he was trying, you understand? He was trying to, so the Vaishnavas should not, because they don't do in Braj. So he was actually, it's described that he was driven out of Vrindavan for that deviation. Yeah, by the Goswamis, had him driven out of Raj. So that's for that's a prerogative, that worship is shown by the gopis. So Prabhupada didn't give us that worship, but some devotees, they follow some out of more like a sentiment, some type of for blessings. I know my Guru Maharaj followed something like that a few years ago for the benefit of the Sankirtan devotees.
Yeah, some devotees just like doing vrats. They like, look, I can do this for a whole month. They like that discipline. it helps
Yeah,
them.
sometimes they may do it to enhance their purity. Yeah, there's a verse in Bhagavad Gita that the devotees are attracted to. The devotees never give up charity, penance, and austerity. But it's not actually given as a specific anga. Specifically, Prabhupada didn't specifically instruct us. He gave us specific instructions to worship Kartik Vrata, worshipping and to worship Krishna at that time in the young Balagopal. And he gave us that. He gave us the worship of Lord Nrsingadev. And so we follow that. But he didn't specifically ask devotees to worship Katyayani, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
But some
Thank you.
devotees will do it. Some devotees, well, they won't do it.
It's not like is it a deviation to do it, try and do it? Or is it like, are you just inventing your own kind of program if you do it?
Depends
sir.
how devotees, it really depends. If a devotee is preaching that everyone should do it, and if you don't do it, you're not going to make advancement, then that would be a deviation. But some devotees just want to do it to enhance. They just want to perhaps do something in order to increase try and invoke some mercy. But it's like that. I don't know. Anyone else, any comments on that?
I was thinking, Prabhu, it's all life for me. I thought it's better for us to be Rupa Anugas and Prabhupada Anugas and follow, so it would be easier. We won't get into too much complications.
Yeah. And I was thinking as well, the best thing you can do to actually please Prabhupada and to do some extra austerity is to go on book distribution, especially during the month of December.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is going to do anything.
Yeah.
Better worship. You can worship Lord Chaitanya through that, go on book distribution or engage in some preaching. That would be much more perhaps practical and pleasing to Prabhupada. Yeah. Yeah, all right. So let's have a look scrolling through here. So stolen, their intelligence has been stolen. It's quite descriptive, isn't it? Someone's intelligence, but it's been stolen. And I just go here, I was looking, this is a couple of quotes from different Sampradaya acharyas. It's quite small, but it's quite interesting. He's speaking about those, this is Ramanujacharya. He's speaking about those who engage in not just demigod worship, but those he describes, quote, they engage in abominable activities like sacrifice of animals and even humans. They allow themselves to be possessed by demonic spirits and they perform evil magic, etc. Right. Another quote. Amongst those who worship a particular demigod which represents a potency of Lord Krishna, then he is Paramatma, the Supreme Soul within all sentient beings, monitoring every thought and action, makes such devotees' faith steady and stable. Of others who were, this is the next verse. So this is in relation to 21. So I won't comment too much on this. I just finished reading it. Of others who worship illusory gods, his external potency known as Maya, the deluding illusory energy keeps them steadily following the illusion of their erroneous philosophies and speculative philosophies. They have no validity, not being verified as bona fide by the Vedic scripture. So that first quote is those who are engaging in a concocted worship, in like here, sacrifice of animals and even humans. That's there in the Bhagavatam, isn't it? Anyone can recall that in the Bhagavatam, someone was being offered as a human sacrifice?
It was a Rishabdev?
Bharat.
No, it wasn't Rishabdev. It was Jada Bharat. Jada Bharat. He was doing Jada Yoga. It means Jada Yoga means deaf and dumb yoga, where you make out you're deaf and dumb practically. Jada Yoga. So they were doing, so they were worshipping some, what was the demigod? Kali, wasn't it?
Mm.
In order to
Yes.
become
Yeah.
empowered for their nefarious activities. So this is an inkling of a demonic, idol concoction, something that's not actually a Vedic. And we know the dramatic story there, where Kali actually came to life herself, and she did away with the dacoits in quite a ghastly way. So back to the verse. Yeah. Right. Those whose intelligence has been stolen by material desires surrender unto demigods and further to follow particular rules and regulations of worship according to their own natures. Okay. So we come from I think most of us are living in or coming from a Western background. So for us, this doesn't mean so much. But in Bharat, in the East, then it means a lot, because most persons will worship demigods. Yeah. Most persons engage in worship particular demigods to fulfill particular material desires. Yeah. And then Prabhupada quotes this verse again, Akamo Shava Kamo Va. Someone is actually a devotee of Krishna. If they have a material desire, they will depend upon Krishna. So that's why I emphasize at the end. And they will be satisfied with whatever he gives. Or what's not said here is whatever he does not give. Because Krishna knows us better than we know ourselves. So he knows what material desires to fulfill and what material desires to frustrate. Yeah, he wants to keep us on the path of loving devotion. So he's going to lovingly take care of us. Just as parents, isn't it? When children ask for so many things, isn't it? They want this, they want that, they want to do this, they want to do that. They want to touch this, they want to do this, they want to do that. Anything that comes within their view, they want to touch, eat, or something. But then the parents, they are with a loving affection for their children. Then they're going to deny the children some things. And other things they're going to let them indulge in, knowing that the children will eventually become tired. I mean, I was so taught that one story. I remember when I was young, then one time my mother said I could eat as many chocolates as I wanted. We bought this, she had for Christmas, this whole big box of Quality Street, big box of chocolates. And I started to eat through them, and I was eating too many. And she took the box away, and I started to cry. Then she goes, okay, then here you go, eat as much as you want. And I was ghastly sick. Of course, I stuffed myself, and I was ghastly sick. So I learned my lesson. So Krishna, being our father, being our well-wisher, sometimes he teaches us in these ways by sometimes fulfilling our desires, where we realize the futility of that material endeavor. And therefore, we naturally give it up. So that's Krishna's kindness to his devotee. That's why we always want to encourage people to pray to Krishna, even if it's for something material. They may not be ready to hear the teachings and instructions of pure bhakti because they're just coming. So they're just befriending devotees. They're just coming to this sangha of devotees. So we may encourage them to come if they're in some type of stress, some type of anxiety. You should pray to Krishna. But then if they sit down and hear Bhagavatam, they will learn about the principles of pure bhakti. Going on a bit. Hare Krishna. Any other comments or questions? Otherwise, we can read text 21.
I just want one more point, sorry.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, it's very important to distribute Bhagavatam and engage in the hearing Bhagavatam, because in Bhagavatam, there are so many examples when demigods are in distress, they need to take shelter and ask Krishna for help.
Yeah. So, So better go to Krishna, and that's explained in the next 2 verses. This comes in a set of 3 verses, and Krishna would explain it. It's actually it's he who is giving the empowerment of the demigods. So one is indirectly worshipping Krishna. Yeah, the demigods themselves are entrapped by this material energy. So let's go to Krishna. Yeah, thank you. Right, Mother Gayatri, if you've hit base, you can read. Your hands up. I guess that's a reading hand.
Yes, definitely. 21,
Very
right?
good. Yeah, 21.
Yo yo yam yam tanu bhakta shradhayar chitum ichchati tasya chalam shadam tam eva vidatyamyaham. Translation. I am in everyone's heart as the Supersoul. As soon as one desires to worship some demigod, I make his faith steady so that he can devote himself to that particular deity. Purport.
Quite a lengthy purple here, so get ready. Oh, not so long. Page.
Don't worry. God has given independence to everyone. Therefore, if a person desires to have material enjoyment and wants very sincerely to have such facilities from the material demigods, the Supreme Lord, as Supersoul in everyone's heart, understands and gives facilities to such persons. As the Supreme Father of all living entities, he does not interfere with their independence, but gives all facilities so that they can fulfill their material desires. Some may ask, why the all-powerful God gives facilities to the living entities for enjoying this material world, and so lets them fall into the trap of the illusory energy? The answer is that if the Supreme Lord as Supersoul does not give such facilities, then there is no meaning to independence. Therefore, he gives everyone full independence, whatever one likes. But his ultimate instruction we find in the Bhagavad Gita. One should give up all other engagements, fully surrender unto him. That will make man happy. Both the living entity and the demigods are subordinate to the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the living entity cannot worship the demigod by his own desire, nor can the demigod bestow any benediction without the supreme will. As it is said, not a blade of grass moves without the will of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Generally, persons who are distressed in the material world go to the demigods, as they are advised in the Vedic literature. A person wanting some particular thing may worship such and such a demigod. For example, a diseased person is recommended to worship the sun god. A person wanting education may worship the goddess of learning, Saraswati, and a person wanting a beautiful wife may worship the goddess Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva. In this way, there are recommendations in the Shastras, Vedic scriptures, for different modes of worship of different demigods. And because a particular living entity wants to enjoy a particular material facility, the Lord inspires him with a strong desire to achieve that benediction from that particular demigod. And so he successfully receives the benediction. The particular mode of the devotional attitude of the living entity towards a particular type of demigod is also arranged by the Supreme Lord. The demigods cannot infuse the living entities with such an affinity, but because he is the Supreme Lord, or the Supersoul who is present in the hearts of all living entities, Krishna gives impetus to man to worship certain demigods. The demigods are actually different parts of the universal body of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, they have no independence. In the Vedic literature, it is stated, the Supreme Personality of Godhead as Supersoul is also present within the heart of the demigod. Therefore, he arranges for the demigod to fulfill the desire of the living entity. But both the demigod and the living entity are dependent on the supreme will. They are not independent. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. It's good to, any comments or questions, please feel free to ask. But just to begin with, it's good to keep in mind that it's quite substantial, actually. Krishna gives one, it says here, he makes his faith steady. So faith is quite a sublime thing. If someone has faith in Lord Shiva, It means they've had that, like internally, they have some type of revelation of the position to some degree of Lord Shiva, for example, and they're feeling some type of empowerment or some type of shelter. So that's called faith. Yeah. So Krishna is giving them that faith. Yeah. And also, I was trying to find it. It would take me perhaps a little more time to find it. But I came across a commentary on this verse by one of our acharyas. And he describes, I think it may be Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he describes even the different gods outside of the Vedic pantheon. And for instance, Christians, Muslims, Jews, they have great faith in their particular faith, yeah, in their particular way of worship, in their particular concept of God. Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, we've met such. Yeah, we meet them. Yeah, they have great faith in their particular path. So Krishna's giving them that faith. You say God, Krishna, we know God as Krishna. He's giving them that faith. Yeah, because it's better than being faithless. It's better than being a gross materialist. At least they're dependent upon and see themselves being needing, or they see themselves as being dependent upon higher power. And that suits the purpose of the Vedas. Yeah, that suits the path of ultimately complete dependence upon Krishna. You know, so anyway, that's why I mentioned that. Any other questions or comments here? So Krishna's doing everything, really.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. We
Hare
are
Krishna.
reading in the evening Krishna book. And just on Monday, we were reading how Lord Brahma was stealing the cowards, boys, and the calves.
Yeah.
And recently for Govardhan Puja, we also have how Lord Indra get a bit bewildered. So sometimes they're using their independence. It's for the lila, but still we can learn how even the demigods like Lord Brahma, Lord Indra, Lord Shiva, we know from the story about Mohini Murti.
Murti, Brahma Vimohan Leela, Indra, yeah.
So sometimes they're also get using their independent will. But that's exceptional for the past times, I think.
Yeah, it's exceptional, but still it's a lesson to be learned that even great controllers, it's good you're bringing it out, even great powerful controllers are sometimes sometimes misuse their independence, what to speak of the little jiva. Yeah. So Krishna, interesting, Prabhupada says Krishna does not interfere with their independence, but there will be a specific result for misuse of independence. Yeah. So Krishna doesn't interfere, but also Krishna doesn't interfere with the specific consequential reactions that will come for misusing one's independence. Yeah. But Krishna doesn't Krishna doesn't get in the way of that. So they want to worship demigods to fulfill material desires. And Prabhupada mentions it as, what he mentioned, as small desires. What he mentioned it as, let me just find that. As pathetic or small desires. They're desiring things of this world instead of desiring the supreme. Yeah. What did I hear example the other day that we know that the story was that lady, she has a big bundle of, actually I saw a lady today, I'm in India, and she must be in her 60s, coming out to her 70s, very thin lady. She had this massive pile of sticks that she was tying up You know, she'd been out collecting sticks for burning because it's getting a bit cold now. Big pile of sticks, and she was lifting it on her head with great trouble, you know. So I think we know the story where once she was praying, "Oh God, please help me, please help me."
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the Lord appears in all his grandeur. "Yes,
His
what can
secret.
I do for you?" "Oh, please put this pile of sticks on my head," you know. So as compared to, you could say, with all due respect, less intelligence. Yeah. Yeah. Anything else from here we want to bring out? If we gives everyone full independence, yeah, what everyone likes, but this is ultimate instruction we find, which is Shavadamam Pariyachachamam Ekam Savanam Bhajam. That's the ultimate instruction. Just completely depend upon Krishna. Man mana bhavat bhakto madhyati mam namaskuru. Think of Krishna, worship Krishna, namaskuru, and bow down to Krishna. That's the ultimate instruction, the ultimate use of our independence. Yes.
I have one question. This
Yeah,
worshipping
please.
of the demigods, can we put that in the pious activities? Is it the obstacle, or in which category this worshipping of demigods is?
Well, from the perspective of pure devotion, it's considered to be for one who has taken initiation, actually, where initiation as a Vaishnava, meaning that means one's making a statement that they're completely dependent upon Krishna. Yeah, they put all their faith in Krishna. So therefore, we may give, the Vaishnava gives respects to demigods, but doesn't engage in their upasana, or doesn't worship them for protection or for one's well-being. We just depend upon Krishna. So from the point of view of pure devotion, it's considered to be, Jiva Goswami mentions, he comments on the second verse of the Bhagavatam, Dhamma Pacitta Kataiva Paramo, that the Bhagavatam kicks out all materially motivated religion. So from the perspective of pure devotion, it's considered to be cheating. Yeah. But from another perspective, it's considered to be pious because one is following the Vedic marg, one is following the Vedic path, although that piety is influenced by the modes of nature. Yeah. I don't know if you could say it's pious, I guess worshipping Kali for nefarious things like the dacoits trying to sacrifice Jad Bharat, that would be worship in a mode of ignorance for sure. So anyway, to cut a long story short, it's definitely influenced by the modes of material nature. Yeah. Worshipping the
I think,
demigod.
Prabhu, that much. Prabhu, I was
Thank you.
adding that should be the reason it came in 10 offenses also, just mentioning. If you worshipping the demigods, it's mentioned in even 10 offenses.
Yeah, what's the exact wording for that?
It's saying, consider the names of the demigods.
Like
To be
Of
equal
Lord
to
Shiva
or
Brahma.
independent of the name of Lord Vishnu.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
So
we
if
should
you
be very...
start to worship, so we can respect, as you always say. But if you worship, that means we are thinking Lord and the demigods are the same.
Yeah, but so from perspective, I'm just thinking a point, Mother, to questions Mother Shubhakuni is asking. Definitely, I find from my experience, when I meet persons from Bharat, from India, who are worshipping demigods, they're definitely more pious than the person who's an atheist, or the person who's a gross materialist with no concept of the demigods even. Okay, but at least they got it's easier to tell them about Krishna because they're more pious. They're worshipping, a mother maybe they're worshipping Shiva, worshiping different demigods, and they have this natural, they understand something of the Vedic culture, and it's easier to give them some instructions about Krishna because they're more pious, So there is, I could say, they are from that perspective they're pious, but from the perspective of pure devotion, I guess everything from the perspective of pure devotion is a cheating or deviation. But at least that's my experience. Persons I've met who are coming from the Hindu tradition, who are worshippers of different demigods, they tend to be more pleasant people. Yeah, can be more pleasant. Mostly, I'm sure there's exceptions, which means they're more pious. Pious persons are pleasant. They're got more the mode of sattva to some degree. Anyway, any comments on that?
Prabhu, I was thinking, being pious sometimes is a hindrance to come to devotional service.
Yeah,
because they are
that's
too
very
pious.
well.
They know, we know we have been doing it, we have been doing it, and they will keep on saying that, and they can't. It's impossible for them to change.
Yeah, that's also there as well. It's also, the mode of goodness can be a trap, and Prabhupada speaks about in Bhagavad Gita. He gives the example of someone maybe learned, professor, etc., and very proud of their situation or attached to their knowledge, etc. So yes, it can be as well. But at least we can give them prashadam. They will take prashadam. They may come to the temple. And
I think it is better to have a clean slate than a written slate.
Yeah, I mean, that's just interesting because you see devotees who come from the West who don't come from a culture of demigod worship or things like that. They can take more seriously to Krishna than the pious person can.
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, they may, they take complete shelter of Krishna. So yeah, many different aspects there. All right. Great, we've got just over 10 minutes. Let's squeeze in another verse. Yeah, let's try and do these 3 verses because it's all on the same subject. Let's just check the purple. It's a relatively small purple. So let's have someone read 22. Okay, I'm going to jump in. Go ahead, Mother, go ahead.
Yeah. Satya Shradayas Yuktas Tasyar Adanam Iyate Labate Cha Tatakaman Mai Eva Vitanitan. Translation. Yeah. Endowed with such a faith, he endeavors to worship a particular demigod and obtains his desires, but in actuality, these benefits are bestowed by me alone. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. The demigods cannot award benedictions to their devotees without the permission of the Supreme Lord. The living entity may forget that everything is the property of the Supreme Lord, but the demigods do not forget. So the worship of demigods and achievement of desired results are due not to the demigods, but to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by arrangement. The less intelligent living entity does not know this, and therefore he foolishly goes to the demigods for some benefit. But the pure devotee, when in need of something, prays only to the Supreme Lord. Asking for material benefit, however, is not a sign of a pure devotee. A living entity goes to the demigods, usually because he is mad to fulfill his lust. This happens when something undue is desired by the living entity, and the Lord himself does not fulfill the desire. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, it is said that one who worships the Supreme Lord and at the same time desires material enjoyment is contradictory in his desires. Devotional service to the Supreme Lord and the worship of a demigod cannot be on the same platform, because worship of a demigod is material and devotional service to the Supreme Lord is completely spiritual. For the living entity who desires to return to Godhead, material desires are impediments. A pure devotee of the Lord is therefore not awarded the material benefits desired by less intelligent living entities, who therefore prefer to worship demigods in the material world rather than engage in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord.
Okay, so thank you. So Prabhupada's just clearing everything up for us here. He's putting everything in perspective. Yeah. Yeah. Worship the demigods is material. Worship the Supreme Lord is on the spiritual platform. Yeah. And this verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, I paraphrase that in the previous verse we're speaking about that. It's Krishna kahe ame bhaje mage visaya sukha amrita chadi vishaya magi amrita something. I'll have to look at that verse again. But it describes for those who worship Krishna to fulfill material desires, then they're just like a person who's drinking poison instead of nectar. Yeah. And then he describes, because I am intelligent, ami vigan imukhi, I should induce them to taste the nectar of my lotus feet. If they're worshipping Krishna for something material, they're considered to be like drinking poison. But Krishna says, I shall induce them to taste the nectar of my lotus feet and forget their material desires. Yeah. So Prabhupada's paraphrasing those verses here. I think it's from the Madhya Lila teachings to Rupa Goswami. Yeah. So we should be clear that we want to be free of material desire, and worship the demigods is just about fulfilling material desires. Yeah. I was interested to see that even in the Catholic Church, people pray to different saints for fulfilling different material needs. You know, same thing. Like there's a saint they pray to when they travel, so they don't have an accident. There's a saint which they pray to when they get sick. There's all these different saints. Then they pray to specific saints for their material well-being. You know, so similar to worship of different, in some way, worship of different demigods. But anyway, Prabhupada's made everything clear here. Any questions or comments here? Of course, we're on the path we're on the path of freeing ourselves from material desire. So to be free of material desire means to completely be absorbed in meditation upon pleasing Krishna. That's quite a high kind of platform to be on. So therefore, we need some things in this world to be comfortable, but we don't make an issue of it, in the sense we don't go demanding Krishna. Oh, Krishna, please give me a 2-bedroom house. Please Krishna, I want a new car. Please, Krishna. No, we understand Krishna is in our heart and he knows what we need, and we continue with his worship. And underlying, there may be some material wants and the needs in our heart. Don't worry. Krishna knows it's there. You just continue with your hearing and chanting and developing pure devotion, even though there's underlying material desires there. Let Krishna manage it. There's no need to go demanding these things from Krishna. You know, what was it in the Bhagavatam? Kadama Muni was worshipping, wasn't it? That's quite. Oh, he was worshipping Krishna for a suitable wife, and everything was arranged. Krishna said, I know what's in your heart, and he made all arrangements. Anyway, any questions on that? So no need for us to petition the Lord, even if we do have material desires. Then no need to petition the Lord. Let's leave it to the Lord to manage our devotional life, you know. That's why I found that sentence at the end here very interesting. And the pure devotee is satisfied with whatever he gives. Yeah, because the Krishna knows what's good for us. Anyway, any questions here? We got 7 o'clock, but any time goes so quick, isn't it?
Mhm.
An hour.
But your sentence says a pure devotee. See, we have to become a pure devotee. We have to come to that platform.
Say that?
We have to depend on, we have to become pure devotees.
Yeah. We can be pure in, what's the word? We can be pure in intent,
Yeah.
which means but then we ultimately, by being pure in intent, we will become pure in heart. Yeah. So pure intent means even though we have some lingering desires, we want to be free from them. And we have faith that Krishna will, as we advance in devotion and become overwhelmed with loving devotion to Krishna, these material desires will go.
Mm-hmm.
I
But
have one speculation.
Yeah.
Sometimes on different places in Shastras, you can find out that Lord Shiva is the best of Vaishnavas. I forgot
Yeah.
how the shloka is going on. And I was thinking maybe sometimes Lord Shiva, his worshipper, can lead them towards Krishna, because also sometimes he's glorifying devotional service. He has some very nice prayers which he offered to Srimati Radharani, I think Radha Kripa Kataksha. So maybe if they're sincere followers, Lord Shiva can lead them gradually towards devotional service. I don't know. Because here also there is a sanction in which he's teaching Parvati about devotional service, about Srimati Radharani.
Yeah, for sure. That's it. Actually, in the Sudha Bhakti Chintamani, Shri Ramraj gives a specific example of that. I think we might remember that. There's one devotee here in the UK, called Haridas, and he comes from a Vaishnava family, and he had an arranged marriage with someone who's been worshipping Lord Shiva for her whole life since she was a young girl. So there was a little bit of tension. Who was going to be the worshipful deity of their house, Lord Shiva, or would it be Krishna? So Lord Shiva appeared to Haridas's wife in a dream, saying, "I'm very pleased with your worship of me. Now, please you feel free. Please, you should worship Krishna." Yeah. So Lord Shiva actually appeared in her dream and told her that she should worship Krishna. So yes, thank you, Mother Subhakra. That's actually a fact. Yeah. All right. All right, let's pause there then. And we're having one reading a week due to circumstances. So we'll come back next week on Wednesday and we'll carry on with 723. Yeah, so men of small intelligence worship the demigods, and their fruits are limited and temporary. Those who worship the demigods go to the planets of the demigods. My devotees ultimately reach my supreme planet. Haribol. All right,
Please
thank you.
pray for us. Are you in Mayapur?
I'm in Mayapur, and tomorrow I'm going to Ekachakra. So,
Haribol.
Haribol.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Please pray for us.
Murli Prabhu, when did you last go there to
me, I haven't been there for over 20 years.
Oh my God, you're gonna find a real change.
Hotels everywhere.
Yeah, it is not what was before.
Perhaps 15 years. Perhaps 15 years.
Yeah. I find it like just a few years, and it's so like everything else so commercialized outside everywhere.
Anyway, it's still got the dust of Nityananda's
Yeah,
lotus.
Nityananda, big deep,
Yes.
nice holy places
Yes.
to take
Right,
darshan.
so
Pray
yeah,
for us all.
I will do. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
So we are not having the class tomorrow. That means.
No, because I shall be back late at night.
Okay.
Okay.
Still, you. Thank you, Prabhu. Please
Hari.
pray for us.
Thank you very much.
Hari Bol.
Bhagavad ki jai, Bhagavad Gita ki
Praise
jai.
Hari Bol.
Bhagavad
Jai.
Gita ki jai. Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna Krishna,
Krishna.
Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare.